We are good to go.
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is called to order. My name is Hassan Bennett. No, I'm sorry. The time is 6:07 and this meeting is called to order. My name is Hassan Bennett. I am the interim chair of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, and this is the public meeting for the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. This meeting was properly advertised pursuant to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. And with that, I'll begin to call roll. Commissioners, when I say your name, please acknowledge that you're here. Commissioner Hakeem P.A. Hakeem is here.
Yeah, he's here. He might not be able to.
I'm here.
There we
Okay.
go.
Commissioner Latanya Whitehead.
Commissioner Whitehead present.
Commissioner Erica Stewart.
Commissioner Stewart present.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Malika Rockman.
Commissioner Rockman present.
Good evening, Commissioner. Commissioner Gilberto Gonzalez.
Commissioner Gonzalez present. Thank you.
Commissioner John Solomon.
Present.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner, I got Hakeem PA. Last, Commissioner Melanie DeBose.
Commissioner DeBose, I am here.
Good evening, Commissioner. And Commissioner Michelle Enix Kenny.
Commissioner Michelle Enix Kenny is present.
Commissioner Enix Kenny, good evening. I want to issue a public apology before we continue to Commissioner Enix Kenny. The last meeting, I mispronounced your name, so I definitely wanted to issue that apology to you.
It's no problem, Chair. I feel warm and a part of the family. It's just the Philly flavor, right?
Yeah, definitely the Philly flavor. The meeting minutes. Did everyone get to review tonight's agenda?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the agenda for tonight, this is Commissioner DeBose. I move that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved.
This is Commissioner DeBose motioning for tonight's meeting agenda be approved. Do I hear a second?
Commissioner Solomon, I'll second.
All in favor? That is Commissioner Solomon seconding the motion for tonight's agenda to be approved. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All those not in favor say nay. And with that, the ayes have it. Next, approval of the meeting minutes from April 10th and April 24th public meetings. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Commissioner Solomon, yes.
Do I hear a
Commissioner Kenny, yes.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the meeting minutes for April 10th and April 24th be approved.
That is Commissioner DeBose motioning that the meeting minutes be approved. Does anyone second that motion?
I second that motion. This is Commissioner Whitehead.
Commissioner Whitehead second that motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say nay. And with that, the ayes have it. Next, I will hand the meeting over to our Executive Director, Tanya McClary, for the agency business.
Good evening, commissioners, and good meeting to the community of Philadelphia that's watching. I'm excited to bring to you our second report for the month of May. So if we can go to our first slide. As always, I'd like to remind the community of our mission. And so the mission of CPOC is to oversee and investigate the conduct, policies, practices of the police, the Philadelphia Police Department. And so currently CPOC receives complaints of police misconduct, audits and monitors internal affairs investigations and police disciplinary processes, sits and votes on PBI panels at police discipline hearings, conducts oversight of police shootings, analyzes police data, develops policy recommendations and reports, and engages in cultural outreach and training. So these are the reasons why civilian oversight is necessary. It protects human rights. It promotes constitutional policing. It increases public confidence and trust in the police. It builds bridges between law enforcement and the public. It supports effective policing. It ensures greater accountability and enhances risk management. If we could go to the next slide, please. All right, so if we could go back, I'm sorry. Great. So I have a lot of announcements today during my portion. And so let me start with CPOC is hiring. I am very excited to say that CPOC is hiring. And so our commissioners, we're going to make sure that you get the job description, send them out to people. We are going to be hiring for a new investigator. Some of you may not have known that Shatina Ray recently left the agency, and so that left a vacancy. And so we are going to be hiring for Shatina's position, but also hiring for 2 more investigators. We're going to hire for another line investigator, but also a senior investigator. So I'm excited. So we are getting ready to, those announcements actually are already out. And so for members of the community, if you know people, send them our way, send them our way. I'm also excited to announce that we are actually going to be adding an addition to our Auditing Research and Policy Division. We've been approved to hire another auditor/policy person for that division. And so that announcement has also gone out. And then I'm really excited about this development. My vision was to create a data unit. And so we right now have Allison Teddy, who is our senior data analyst, but we are going to be hiring a director to head up that division for the office. So that job announcement is also out there. If you know of people that are phenomenal in data and have built offices or departments, we're looking forward. So CPOC will be growing. So commissioners, you'll be starting to meet new staff as we bring them on. So I'm really excited about the data division and being able to bring in someone that can help the office really figure out the best ways to use data. We do it phenomenally now, and this new director is going to take it to the next level. So that's my first announcement. We're hiring. My second announcement is monumental because it's a first. For the very first time, CPOC has a deputy executive director. And those of you that know me, I spend a lot of times in meetings and doing other things, thinking about strategy. And I'm looking at my senior leadership. They are just excited about this appointment as I am. Because now they will have somebody else that can help bear the load and get things moving and going. So I'm going to introduce him, and he is going to tell us about himself and tell us why he was excited to join this team. So our deputy director is Uwari Osayande. And so Uwari, I'm going to turn it over to you. And yes, tell us about yourself and why you were excited to come and join this team as our very first ever deputy director.
Thank you, Tanya, for the opportunity to share with the commission as well as the public. Yeah, she shared, my name is Uwari Osayande, and I'm glad to become a part of this family. My interest in police oversight actually goes all the way back 30 years ago when I was a student at Fairleigh Dickinson University. It was in my junior year when Philip Pinnell Jr., an African-American boy of about 14 years old, was shot and killed by Gary Spath, then police officer for the Teaneck Police Department. In that time, I was the president of the Association of Black and Hispanic Collegians, and we decided that we wanted to show support for the family's fight for justice. We organized a march from Teaneck to Trenton, New Jersey, which was about 100 miles. We mobilized students from as far north as Harvard to as far south as Howard. We had about 300 and 400 students join us that day. And that was my, what you might say, baptism into racial justice work broadly, concerns regarding police brutality more specifically. And my life since has been guided by seeking justice for Black people, having Black issues and concerns, and you know, done everything from teach Africana studies at Rutgers University in Camden, New Jersey. My last professional, well, not actually my last job, but I was once Chief Diversity Officer with the American Friends Service Committee. And for those of you who are from Philly, I don't need to tell you about AFSC is a Quaker organization, but for those that may not know, AFSC was the organization that nominated Dr. King for the Nobel Peace Prize. And they continue their social justice work to this very day. Since then, went to law school. There did a lot of great work. Had the opportunity to work with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. And in that role, I was responsible for the review and audit of President Biden's police reform measures, which meant I got to actually review and analyze all of the agency reports. It means all of everything from the arms and tobacco to the federal prisons, all of their reports in light of Biden's police reform measures. And so I bring these experiences to this work, understanding that I've only been on the job for a week and I feel like I've just been jumping on a moving train, but excited for the work, certainly have respect for my colleagues and the great groundwork that they've brought to and provided for this organization. And we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot of growing into our mandate. And I see part of my role is really helping the organization do just that. Grateful for the opportunity. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So commissioners, you'll be seeing a lot of URA. And so I'm just very excited to have him join the team here. So I'm gonna just stop there and see if anybody has any questions for URA before I go on to my next portion.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say welcome. Welcome to the team. That's it. You have a long road ahead.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So we also have another first that literally just wrapped up about an hour ago. And I want to go back and thank the community and the commission for making this happen. If you all remember, back in November, we held a momentous hearing in terms of asking for CPOC to be put on term sheets for us to be able to have the opportunity to bargain, independent investigations during this police contract. And so we got onto the term sheets, and today, for the very first time, because this is the first time we've had a chance to bargain since CPOC's been in existence, we actually gave testimony during the FOP contract hearing. And so we literally just left there, when I say about 45 minutes ago, and we were grateful so that we could make it back for this. But I just want to say to the commission and to the public, I'm going to give some overviews and highlights, and that's because I'm not going to be able to give details because it was a closed session. So I will share for the commission and for the community the parts that we played, what we did, but I will not be able to discuss what the other testimony were and things of that in the room. And so I'm really proud and I like to give people their flowers while they're living. So I'm going to give a tremendous shout out to Catherine Twigg, our general counsel, who really pulled this together, that she really just pulled it all together, gave us guidance and things. And so Catherine, I want to thank you for pulling this testimony together. The testimonial team, we divided into two panels. We had a staff panel, and then we had an expert panel. And so on the staff panel was myself, Janine Zajac, who was our director of the Auditing Policy and Research Division, and Nick Cotto, who was the director of investigations. And I also want to give a tremendous shout out to Janine and Nick, who worked for hours on their testimony strategy, trying to make sure that no stone was unturned. And I want to also give a shout out to Uware and Layla Khalil, who also supported this team. Uware literally literally jumped in here last week, which is his first week, and has shepherded us with us, and then Layla as well all the way. And I was very excited that even though it was closed, the entire leadership team was able to be there. So Danny Guy, our director of administration, was able to attend. Talia Grimmage, our director of outreach and constituent services, as well as Layla, who was our government affairs officer, were able to attend. And so we felt supported, those of us that were testifying, and it was good to be able to look around and see friendly faces in the room. So I want to say a little bit about the highlights of the staff testimony. And so we really wanted to leave that room with the feeling that giving us independent investigations really bolsters community trust and faith in the police. That was kind of our that was kind of our theme, in terms of this is going to do nothing but help the community and the police department and bridge the gap that is between. And so we spent time really walking through what our mandate was, reminding the arbitration panel that 500,000 people voted for this. And we looked up the numbers of all the people that voted for this in 2020. It was like almost 80%, like 79.2% of all the voters voted for this. So it is significantly what the city wanted. And so we spent a lot of time walking through that and walking through what the legislation that was created after that talked about, and one of the anchors was independent investigations. We also talked about why we're asking for it now. So technically one of the reasons, because it's the first time we can, right? It's the first time this contract has come up since we have been in existence, but also because of what I just said earlier, that us doing this is going to help build the department, build trust in the department, and help officers gain more community trust. We talked about because we're ready. We have spent the last 4 years getting ready to be able to take this step and do it well. And the last thing was to remind them that this is what Philadelphians wanted. And the reality that a lot of people think we're already doing it. And so many people are surprised when we actually tell them that we are not doing the investigations. And then we also spent time talking about how we wanted to be partners in trust, how we wanted to increase the public trust in policing. And we went through several things there. We talked about how Oversight can achieve that, what we see as the problems now in terms of low officer morale, just the small, they're like about 1,000 officers short from where they wanted to be, just a lot of things. We walked through what we're seeing at the academy as we're talking to officers, and we're talking to young officers, right, that are getting ready to start their careers, and veteran officers. And we talked about a lot of things. And then we also talked about how we are helping to make a difference in terms of policy and things within the department, and gave some concrete examples of policy changes that CPOC has recommended that is going to benefit members of the police department. And then we talked about how we can help PPD achieve its mission. PPD does have a mission statement, and there are several parts where giving us this independent investigation helps them with those parts of their mission. And we spent a lot of time actually making sure that the panel understood what the actual contract ask was, because there's been a lot of confusion about, are we doing criminal or investigative work? We made clear that we're not doing criminal investigations. So we're not going to be people out there, dusting for fingerprints and collecting the bullet casings. That is not what our legislation calls for. That is not what we're doing, but that had been some of the confusion. We are going to be doing administrative investigations. And we also spent a long time talking about when we get this, I'm gonna put it in the atmosphere, when we get it, what does the language need to say in the discipline code? How does it make sure that CPOC has teeth so that we can actually do these investigations and do them well? And so it was a really good hearing from the staff side. And we turned it over to Janine, and Janine, Director Zajac, because of her expertise, was able to lay out, going back to the PAC days, how we've been building to be able to seize this moment now. And she talked about how much trust we've built with the police department in terms of working with internal affairs currently and doing all of these things, and how the work that her team and others in the office have laid are really going to help us be able to hit the ground running. And then we ended with Director Cotto just laying out what exactly it is that we are talking about. What is the investigative proposal? And so between, I think, myself, Director Zajac, and Director Cotto, and with Catherine directing us, it was almost like a trial where there was direct examination, and then there was cross-examination. So the panel was able to ask us questions, the arbitration panel, and then also the lawyers for the FOP asked a lot of questions. And so we were able to, I think, clearly articulate not only the need, but CPOC's competency, our readiness, and all of the groundwork that we've been laying to be able to, if they awarded this tomorrow, we're ready to go. Then we actually had a second panel of 2 experts. And Catherine, I'm going to ask if you can unmute and let the commission know who our 2 experts were. So I'm going to turn it over to Catherine.
I'd be happy to. Well, I will spare you the long introductions that they got during the panel, but we were privileged to be joined by Sydney Roberts, who is a policing expert from, well, she lives in New York now, but she has a long history, career in law enforcement first, including working in internal affairs and working in police leadership. And then she additionally was the head of COPA, which is the Civilian Oversight Agency in Chicago, which she essentially rebuilt after the shooting of Laquan McDonald, which I want to say was 2017. And she built up that agency into what it is today, which is one of the country's largest and I think most effective, most respected oversight agencies. And the other expert witness we were able to have is Chief Theron Bowman, who incidentally knew Tanya professionally from prior work that she's done. And he is a nationally renowned policing expert who retired from managing his department in Texas and now serves as an expert witness and monitor on a number of the federal consent decrees. So those are the cases that generally the DOJ has brought a challenge to the pattern and practice of investigations in jurisdictions like Baltimore, Ferguson, and many others actually that are ongoing that don't always make the news as much. But he is part of the monitoring team, and he's an expert serving in those roles in the federal court cases, which go on for many years. So we were really thrilled to have both of them. They both have the law enforcement background that we thought was essential to lend some credibility in that room to the fact that civilian oversight is a best practice in police reform. It's working in many other jurisdictions, and there are a lot of lessons learned for us here in Philly. So although they're not on tonight, I'll extend my public gratitude to them as well, because I think they really helped round out our panel. Yeah, that's it for me.
So Chair, I'll turn it back over to you, but I will open it up for Danny and Uwari if you guys have any observations from today. And then if they have any comments, we'll turn it back over to you, Chairman. I see Director Guy.
Yeah, no, I have no additional comments to share today.
Okay, so Chair, we'll turn it back over to you to see if the commission has any questions or
Prior
comments.
to turning it, well, asking commissioners, do they have any questions? I will remind you that the hearing was confidential. It was a closed hearing. So with that being said, does any of my fellow commissioners have any questions regarding today's event?
Well, I don't have a question.
No questions for me.
Yep, no questions.
No questions at the moment.
Thank you.
No questions.
No questions. Still.
None of the commissioners have questions. I will say thank you. I know you're always in the shadows giving us consultations. Yes, you. Yes, you, Attorney Twig. And yes, counsel. You're always in the shadows putting in the work. I appreciate you popping out your shell today and getting it done. As well as I do not know how to pronounce your name, so I will call you our new Deputy Director. Thanks for coming right in and getting to work. It's a lot. It's been a lot to get here. It's been far over a year putting this together and being strategic in how we operate to get to this point. So with you being able to come in and fill that piece of the puzzle, I know it took a lot of work at night. I know the work this commission takes. So I want to say thank you to you as well as Janine. Janine been setting this up for about 4 years now. Janine, for all those commissioners that don't know, Janine has been organizing this with her data and her presentations for about 4 years. So putting it together for the arbitrators is not just it was not just a 6-month experience. It stems back long years and almost a half a decade now of data analysis. So once again, I always tilt my hat to Janine. She's like our secret weapon. It's not a secret. All the newspapers just take her data and recreate it. So once again, I'd like to thank not only Janine, but all those that work with Janine and putting these numbers together.
Thank you, Chairman, and I agree totally. I think that portion that Janine added to this today was crucial to be able to show that we have been prepping for this for a very long time was, I think, essential. And so I totally agree with you about the treasure that she is to this agency. And so with that, with no other further, and I do have to say, you guys have a executive director that's kind of mushy. Like I could have almost cried today. It's been so stressful. And this team has worked their nose to the grind, and it just to see it actually come together today, and to just, I don't want to toot our own horn, but just to say how well prepared we were is just a testament to the people that are on my team. And so I'm just very proud of what we were able to accomplish and the things that we were able to relay to the arbitration panel. And so with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Administration, Danny Guy, who will talk to us about our complaints for the month of April.
Good evening, everybody. So our complete report should be on the website momentarily. Just to start, I'll read some of some briefings on some complaints we received this last month, April, for the month of April. And these are summaries of allegations made by complainants which have not been investigated. They do not represent any findings or conclusions at this point. So one complainant observed a police officer asleep in their police vehicle. They went to the district to report this incident and share pictures of the officer asleep. The supervisor that they spoke with just said, "What do you want me to do about it?" Super, super disheartening, of course, to hear. Another complaint we got, the complainant's spouse was struck by a car and they were taken to the hospital for medical treatment. The complainant reported that police never came to the scene of the, Police never came to the incident of the scene to take a police report. The complainant had to go to the district the next day to get the police report. Another complainant was waiting at a bus stop when two officers came up and began to question them. One of the officers ordered the complainant to stand up and they began to forcefully frisk them. The officer attempted to go through the complainant's belongings, but stopped when the complainant verbally told them that they did not have the consent to search. The complainant felt the officers acted unprofessionally and that they were condescending and demeaning. So those are just some complaints we got in the month of April.
Danny, before you go forward, I think, can we go back? So the first complaint that Danny highlighted, right, is one of the reasons why the community wants us to do these investigations, right? Because if they had to come here, we would not have said, what do you want us to do about it? Right? That's a lot of the community's concerns about the police policing themselves. So I'm glad that Danny was able to lift this one up and an example of what we hear sometimes from community about their concerns about not having an additional independent agency that can conduct investigations.
And I'll highlight also, we sometimes get people who don't even want to file the complaint or move forward with filing the complaint, or sometimes they file and they aren't responsive to internal affairs because they were hoping that it was in CPOC to do the investigation. So on this next slide, you'll see this is our complaint demographic specifically for the month of April. So this is breaking down the 22 complaints that CPOC referred to internal affairs in the month of April. And this shows the race distribution as well as the gender distribution. On the next slide, this is our year-to-date. So we've submitted 67 complaints to internal affairs in the calendar year 2025. And this breaks down the race and gender distribution for the entire year thus far. And that's up to April, the month of April. This next slide breaks down our allegations of those complaints. So this is looking at all those 67 complaints, I think I just said, and the different allegations that are in them. And as a reminder, one complaint can have multiple allegations. As we see here, lack of service is sort of our top allegation, which is pretty standard for us. There's about 30% of the allegations are lack of service. And then the next biggest one is our departmental violations, which I'll break down on the next slide. And that's 16, just a little over 16%. These are some subcategories of those departmental violations. We always like to break them down just because departmental violation can feel really nebulous. So that can include improper stop and search, violations of PPD directives, their policies, other non-specific stuff, and improper stops or detention, missing property. And so these are just breakdowns of those, of that 16, I think it was like 16.3%. Here, the breakdown of the departmental violations. On our next slide, this breaks down zip codes. So here's where the incidents are happening. You'll see that the 19130 is our highest place that complainants are submitting complaints to CPOC. Complaints, again, these are just complaints submitted to us and referred to internal affairs. They do not include data of complaints submitted directly to internal affairs or filed at a police district. And that is the end of my slides. If anybody has any questions about our complaint data for April.
I have two questions.
Of course.
So number one, when you record incidences, do you list the police district that it happened at in the report? Is it listed on that report?
You mean the report that I put out for the monthly complaints, or do you mean like the intake?
Intake, maybe on the intake.
All of it, the answer is yes to all of it. So when somebody files a complaint online, ideally, they've put in their zip code of where the incident happened, though sometimes people don't. And our staff is directed to figure out the address and make sure that the zip code is in there because we are reporting on it, as you see on the slide right in front of you. So we go in and we'll edit and add that. And then it is the responsibility of CPOC staff in our case management system to add the district of where the complaint happens so we can report on that. We typically report out the districts quarterly. So we just did it in March for the first quarter of the calendar year, and we'll do the next quarter of districts breakdown We also, in the monthly complaint report that's on our website, I break down sort of the region. It doesn't give specific districts, just for some level of anonymity for both officers and complainants of where the complaint's happening. We don't want to sort of tie too much to them, but we report on the full sum of the districts, both at the end of the year and quarterly. So we are tracking that information.
Got you, thank you. Then my second question on the pie chart, I didn't see Hispanic or Latino listed on that. Is that every single time, or is that for a particular reason, or?
That's a great question. So that's ethnicity, and I think we need to break down that. I put it in our complaint report, but it's broken separately from race, the same way that the census data is reported. So we reported, I think, in our annual report, but we haven't reported it in those specifics. But I can ask Allison to start pulling that information so that we can report on it more explicitly versus race, since it is important to report on. But it's in my complaint report typically.
Got you, thank you so much.
Are there any other questions?
I'll just answer this question now. One of our viewers asked, what are the most typical complaints in a 19130? Unfortunately, I don't have that data like off the top of my head. I can't tell you. We can sort of look. I mean, most likely it's probably lack of service just based on our general complaint data, but I don't have the specifics of like breakdown of like each zip code and what is their top thing. So I just wanted to answer that question since it's pretty easy right now. Great. Thanks, everybody. I'll turn it over to Mike.
So let me introduce Mike Tooley. Normally, this report is given by Director Janine Zajac. As you heard, she was with us all day at the FOP contract hearing, but she has asked Mike Tooley to step in today, and I'm excited because some people may not know Mike, and so he is a valuable member of Janine's team, and so he will be giving the report this evening for the APR division. So Mike, take it away.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Tanya, thank you for the intro. You must know I do not like talking about myself, so definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I'm excited to, get a chance to sit with you guys and just tell you guys about a little bit of the work that we did last month with our audit. So this will probably be like a refresher for most of you guys, but for those that aren't aware, if you guys have any questions, just make sure to throw them in the chat. We'll make sure to try to answer those like as quickly as we can. So first, again, the main focus of our division is to conduct really thorough audits of internal affairs investigations. So now we are auditing the entire case file, which could include body-worn camera footage, any type of reports that are associated, any type of citations that were given, or anything that's a part of that case file, we now have access to, and we get to review that. The Internal Affairs Division, they normally have 90 business days to complete their investigation. So just keeping with like trying to be timely with these investigations. Once we receive the investigation, we try to get our feedback memos out within 11 days. So usually if we can't get them out, then we might not send them, but everything we try to do is like timely just to make sure that we are being, mindful of the police department and kind of some of the things that they have to do. So in terms of the recommendations, we are sending very specific recommendations, and what that normally looks like is us identifying like a particular issue, citing any relevant policy, and then giving a recommendation to kind of address that particular issue. The example here says the investigator should interview all officers present during the incident or explain why the officers were not interviewed. That's important, obviously, because an officer that was not interviewed might have a typical perspective, or they might have something to add to the investigation. So you really want to make sure that you interview everybody that you can so that, a thorough investigation is being done. And this process essentially now it gives us the opportunity to provide feedback and actually have an impact on the outcomes before they're closed. Whereas before we were auditing closed internal affairs investigations. So it was great for collecting research, but in terms of actually being able to affect the outcomes, we weren't actually able to do that. So, and just the last part here is just keeping with our main goal of consistency and process. We're all asked the same series of questions and we all use the same series of questions to review these audits. And essentially, we just want to make sure that we are, again, maintaining consistency. Danny, next slide, please. Thank you. This next slide just shows the total number of investigations that we received from internal affairs in the month of April. And then of those 33 total investigations that we received, we did audits on 25 of those, which is 76%. Great. This next slide just breaks down the types of investigations. So without getting like too far into this, essentially, there are certain allegations that can be made against an officer that are eligible for command level discipline or basically to be addressed by their captain or a supervisor. So those two allegations are lack of service and verbal abuse. So if an officer, say I'm the officer and Danny makes a complaint against me, he says during a traffic stop, Michael verbally abused me and I don't have a verbal abuse allegation within those last 2 years, that can be handled by my commanding officer. And what that generally looks like is their commanding officer or supervisor sits down with them and has a meeting with them, and that's meant to address that misconduct or potential misconduct and kind of give them guidance on how to handle those situations better. The goal with this essentially is to make sure that internal affairs, I guess, is able to adequately address all complaints. And I think they're trying to resolve some, I guess, what they would consider like less serious complaints or lower level complaints. Before we go on, does anybody have any questions? We good? All right, next slide, Danny. Thank you. All right, so this next slide just breaks down the case classification, which are just the different types of classifications of the investigations that we're getting. So as you guys can see, departmental violations, again, just like with the complaint data, departmental violations were the most common type of classification that we received. It looks like we also had some verbal abuse, some lack of service, unprofessional conducts, harassment, and civil rights complaints as well. Next slide. Okay, and this graph that we're looking at here is just a breakdown of the different incident types. So what this is the incident and the type of police encounter that essentially like led to this alleged misconduct. So as you guys can see, there's different categories. So we have call for service by complainant, visit to district or unit HQ, which is just us going to, you know, the 5th Police District and going to get a report, file a complaint, etc. We have vehicle stops, warrant services, radio calls, pedestrian stops, and a couple more. And then as you guys can see to the far left is a other category. So there are certain police encounters that we have that might not neatly fit into those categories. So we would put that in the other. An example that you guys might see at the bottom here is we audited a case in which an individual was at an airport. He approached an officer to ask about a different civilian, and he alleged that this officer was verbally combative towards him and threatening. So because that wasn't cleanly categorized in any of the categories for the police encounters, we just put that in other. Next slide, please. Okay, the slide that we're looking at is a breakdown of the different districts that we audited for these investigations. So it shows the geographical location of the incidents that gave rise to the complaints that we received in April. In April, the 15th district had the highest number of complaints and investigations that we audited. And you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, and this slide just will basically show or it breaks down essentially the feedback memos that we sent. So of the 22 total IAD investigations that we audited, we sent feedback memos for 11 of those. There were 6 cases that our team reviewed and we looked at them and said, we don't have any feedback, like these investigations were thorough. And then there were a couple other cases, basically due to vacation, staff unavailability. We did not audit 5 of those cases. And with those, I think I just want to note that we still enter those in our case management software. So we're still checking to make sure that there are there's nothing crazy happening, nothing egregious that we should be sending a memo for. And if there was, then we would obviously send that and try to prioritize some of the other ones. So we're still kind of keeping track of the ones, even if we don't send a feedback memo for it. And this slide just breaks down the different types of recommendations that we're sending. So in the 11 total feedback memos that we sent, there were 26 recommendations that we made. Missing admin violations was the top and most common recommendation that we made. And we like to try to make a distinction between the admin violations and cap violations. And admin violations are essentially there are allegations that we discovered throughout the course of doing our audits that were not alleged by the complainant. So if we go back to the example of Danny making a complaint against me, Officer Tooley, he says this officer verbally abused me. There is a chance that through the course of our investigation, we might find out that maybe I had a body-worn camera violation, or maybe I didn't follow the proper procedures in notifying police radio. And those are the types of things essentially that would fit into that admin violation category. So as you guys can see, we have a number of other recommendations. We made recommendations to contact all the witnesses or make certain attempts to contact them. Again, add missing cap allegations, which we talked about, adjust analysis and findings to match the evidence. And then there are a few more as well. So again, of those 11 feedback memos that we sent, there was a total of 26 recommendations. And this is my last slide. So we are always working on things. We're constantly doing things. One of the other things that we're really hoping to be able to kind of get out relatively soon is our audit project. So essentially, our audit projects has us examine the department's compliance with their body-worn camera directive. And essentially, like, Tanya stepped in, and when we first pitched her this project, she had some really good questions and kind of challenged us to refine it. So we were able to do that. And essentially, we decided that we wanted to be able to provide direct feedback to the different districts. So essentially, we chose a number of districts to audit. Once we audit these districts, we take a random sample of all of their DCs, and then we audit it to make sure that the officers are complying with their directive. So we want to make sure that the incident is captured in its entirety, that it's tagged and categorized correctly in their evidence.com, which is like the database that they use to store that data. And then we also want to make sure that all available officers on the scene are recording their body-worn cameras like they should. So this is a project that's like time consuming, but it is very important because it will allow us to provide feedback that doesn't come in the form of discipline, which is not a very it's not a very motivating thing to certain officers, I guess. So, and then the other thing that we did this April were meet and greets. So essentially, Janine and Nick were able to kind of lead and conversate with Internal Affairs Division. So we met with the different squads within the Internal Affairs Division, and essentially we were able to kind of like have an open dialogue and just provide them with some information, just very generally about CPOC and the things that we do. And then we were kind of able to get some feedback from them in regards to this process, which we learned they didn't have too much information about. So we were able to kind of bridge certain gaps, and we really hope that like we can continue to work with them. I think we all look at our work as complementary. Like, we really want our work to complement the work that they're doing. So we kind of hope that we will continue to have these conversations with Internal Affairs, and then hopefully establish rapport, and then just continue to kind of work with them and try to make these investigations as thorough and as solid as we can. And I think that is it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioners?
No
Does
questions
anyone-
for me.
Thank you, Mike. No questions at the moment.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very thorough. No questions at the moment, Stuart.
Thank you, Mike. First time, is my vision out?
No, Chair, we can see you just fine.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. First time actually giving a presentation for CPOC. You did a good job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So Chair, it's back to you.
And y'all know what time it is. Community comment colloquy. As always, I will be reading this verbatim, so there is no discrepancies from a meeting to meeting basis. I ask if you have comment, please raise your hand. Comment or questions, please raise your hand while I'm reading the colloquy, or put your comment in the chat while I'm reading the colloquy, so we respect everyone's time. And with that being said, we welcome public comments and feedback. Please address your comments to myself as the interim chair. If you would like to speak, please provide your full name. We will not be unmuting anonymous participants. If you are a member of the media, please identify yourself as such. You can indicate that you would like to speak by raising your hand or sending a request to the meeting host in the chat. You may also submit public comment through the chat. You will have 3 minutes to address the commissioners. I will keep the time and notify the board when the 3 minutes have elapsed. Any documents or follow-up communications can be submitted to cpoc@phila.gov. That is CPOC, the @PHILA.gov. Public comments should be limited to the topic covered in tonight's meeting. All public comments must refrain from offensive language, threats, and or harassment. Participants that violate these instructions will be removed from the meeting, and I promise you, you will be removed immediately. While we welcome your public comments and feedback, commissioners may not be able to respond to your questions or comments during tonight's meeting. Every attempt will be made to follow up by phone or email after the meeting. You can contact us at cpoc@phila.gov, as I said earlier. Let me go back so it's clear. That is cpoc@phila.gov. Or you can call us using 215-685-0891. That is 215-685-0891. And just like every other meeting, I will now ask Danny. Danny, do we have any public comments?
Nothing. I don't see anything in the chat, and nothing in our Q&A besides the question that I answered earlier about the complaints from the 19130 district.
I'll get a chance to the commissioners. Does the commissioners have any comments?
No questions at the moment, Chair.
And with that being said, we'll stop. I'm announcing that we'll stop by for about 10 to 20 minutes for an executive session for legal advice. And with that being said, do I hear a motion?
I motion that tonight's meeting be adjourned at this time, 7:00 p.m.
That is Commissioner Rockman motioning that tonight's meeting be adjourned at this 7:00 hour on the dot. Does anyone second that motion?
This is Commissioner Michelle Enix Kenny. I second the motion.
Commissioner Michelle Enix Kenny has seconded the motion. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
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 All those not in favor, say nay. And with that, the ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It has been wonderful.
I'll just throw out, we have an outreach event on Thursday night. It is George Floyd vigil memorial, but due to weather, we might have to move. So please keep an eye on our social media, and I put in the chat our mailing list. If you're not already on it, we'll give any updates due to weather. But right now, we're gonna pray that the weather is good to us and we're able to move forward with the event. It is Thursday night at 7, I believe 45 on the north apron of City Hall. Thank you everyone for attending. Have a great night.
Thank you. Danny, are we